Hi, Statesman Nation. Welcome to Thanksgiving Eve edition of our weekly press conference. Today we have a special guest as Athletic Director Nick Rule is on. Also, we have Sam Parsons from KBOE, KMZN, and Ken Alsop from Oskaloosa News joining us today. So, Nick, we're going to do a whole William Penn just kind of roundup here, talk about as fall has officially wrapped up now after last weekend. We can just talk about all the fall sports and definitely talk about some football news as well. But I'm going to kind of leave a lot of this up to Sam and Ken, whatever they want to talk about. And at any point too, if you just want to go off on a tangent, so to speak, you can do that as well. But Sam or Ken, if you guys have any questions, you can start with Nick.
Well, I was just kind of curious, and I think that Nick's going to touch on it about the future direction of the football program at William Penn and what your thoughts are going forward.
Yeah, no, appreciate the question, Ken. First off, got to touch on, head coach Todd Hafner in the 19 years he spent here. He turned a program around that was, amongst really the worst in the nation for a long time. A history in our first football program here, football since I believe the 1890s, maybe a bit before that. We had some amazing years in the 70s where we had Coach Ron Randleman and his crew just do amazing things, just winning the Boot Hill Bowl, several winning seasons, not only winning seasons, but where they very rarely lost. Coach Hafner came in 19 years ago and turned the program around and made it respectable again. And those last 19 years, he's been able to really set a foundation that is respectable. And we appreciate him. He's a good man, a friend to so many of us. He's a great father. He's an awesome community member. And as he said in the news release that, he felt like it was time for a new path for him. And we feel like it's time for a new path for us. And so it was a really good conversation after the game at Grace, after they got home from Graceland a few weeks ago. And but as looking to the future, we're excited. We've got a ton of interest in this job. We feel it's the right time to have this type of change and look to the future. You see so many things going on our campus right now. We're a campus full of energy. We've had the highest finish in the Commissioner's Cup in the last 3 years. We finished tied for first and second. And that's not something we've never done before in our history. We've had the highest finish in the Learfield Sports Directors Cup, which is national championships, participating in national championships and national tournaments, more points than ever before. We've had more scholar teams than we've ever had before. We're just a campus full of a lot of momentum. And we see so many of our programs improving and moving in the right direction. And, at the end of the day, we know that football in America is really important. And, we feel like with the investment in this program and what our other sports are doing, that we have a sleeping giant here. And that's been told to us by several different coaches that we have a sleeping giant here. And so we want to get this program on the right path. And so the future looks bright. And we've got a ton of interest in the position right now.
Nick, I was going to ask real quick, do you plan on, for this football coach hiring process, do you plan on looking at people in-house, or is the plan to hire from the outside, or are you just kind of open to anything right now?
Yeah, we're look to the outside. That's what we're going to do. We're working with a consulting firm called Namus Sports. They've been very helpful. What we noticed just as it leaked out that there's a change being made as we're moving forward. We started getting applications immediately, and about 20 or 48 hours into the process, we're like, this is not going to be something that we're going to be able to manage just the entire hiring process internally on a day-to-day basis. So we're working with Mammoth Sports, and they're a group full of a bunch of prior ADs, and they're helping us search. They're helping us identify candidates. We obviously have our candidates identified. They're helping us reach out to those folks as well. It's a little bit, some of those coaches we're still in season last week and are in season this week. We've had some formal applications turned in for really candidates, but our plan is to go outside.
So when you're looking at candidates for that position, what kind of candidates will make your top of the list, so to speak?
Yeah, good question, Ken. I mean, what it really comes down to, college athletics is a world that's evolving so fast. I mean, we see it all the time in the news on the Division I level, of course. It's at every single level. It is evolving so quickly. So we need someone, and we want someone who understands that evolution is not revolution. I think so many times people think that anytime you start to evolve, that means we're revolting against something, and that's certainly not the case. Evolving is just about staying relevant, and the best coaches in any sport and any school are the ones that are constantly reinventing themselves. Coach Henry's a great example of that here at William Penn. And so we want someone who understands that there's a spirit of evolution, and evolution is not a threat. I think the other thing that we're really looking for is that we want a coach that understands that if we're exceptional in the little things, that is going to translate to being very exceptional field of play. And what I mean by that is that, are they good, right? Are they ingrained in our athletic department? Are they ingrained in our community? That's very important. We want our coaches to be a part of our community. As the team part of the community, are they giving back and such? Is the team, supporting other teams on campus? So many campuses our size, the football team is the student section and things like that. But also, are we building men, young men into men and great citizens? And then, are we giving our student athletes a chance to compete? Do they feel like they can go out against schools like Benedictine and Grandview, and do they feel like they have a chance that day? And so a lot of that goes with preparation and such. And then just the intangible things that come with being a college coach is that recruiting, right? We're in a world where it doesn't necessarily make sense with what the narrative is, or social media and such. But at the end of the day, student athletes now, especially the really talented ones, want a relationship being built in the recruiting process. And that means getting face-to-face, sitting down in people's living rooms, taking them out to coffee, having conferences, building relationships. About 10 to 12 years ago, there was such a focus on online recruiting with organizations like NCSA and such. And certainly that's where you can go and mine for prospects and such. But if we're just recruiting behind a computer screen, or predominantly behind a computer screen, that's not building really good relationships. And so we're looking for someone who's a relationship builder. And at the end of the day, Ken, I mean, with so much energy on all of our sports on campus, we want that energy in the football program from our fans. And I think just that fresh start, that new path, and someone who can come in and really paint a vision for the future, and get people really excited about it. That's what we're looking for.
How do you break away from such a legacy to forge a new future?
Yeah, I mean, I think that part of, you respect the legacy, right? Like you look back in the last 19 years and you respect that where we've come, where we are, and you don't look at it again. It's not revolution, it's evolution. So it's not necessarily, we're just going in so many different directions and such. We're building on the foundation that's been built. And I think that's the important thing to know is, we got student athletes in this program who are incredible. And we want them to know that we care about them. And so it's not just blowing everything up. We haven't had, the last few years haven't been great. But we have a history of some really good football seasons here. But we also, although we haven't, competed on the field like we wanted to the last few years, last 4 years, it's, we've seen, we have good young men here who are being invested in and going on to being great fathers and sons and employees and such. So we want to build off that foundation. I think every once in a while in anything, a fresh perspective is good. So it's not changing everything. It's getting that new coach and empowering them to make the decisions that they feel like they need to make in the program, but also understanding and respecting our history. So I think that's how you move forward in something like this.
Nick, quick question for you. Just when you've talked to some of the players, fans, students, et cetera, just what have you, what are some of the overarching things that they want that you have heard from those conversations, and how do you balance that with what you want?
Yeah. So, at the end of the day, my job is to make the best decision for our team, our university, our athletic department team and such. But Sam, it's a good question because, there have been times in the last few years that I'll go to the grocery store at a time where I know there's not going to be as many people around because, that's one of the number one questions I've got in the last few years, or, just people basically let me hear what they want to say about, what they think we need to do and such. And that's just part of it, right? Like, I'm in a position where, I'm essentially at times a diplomat for the university, and I want to hear that, like, and I don't get mad about hearing that stuff. It's actually an honor and a privilege because people care. If people aren't talking about things, that means they don't care. So, from the fans and such, a constant theme that I've heard is we see all your other programs moving in the right direction, whether, if we're rebuilding, we're seeing progress, or you see like what's going on with men's volleyball, men's soccer, shotgun sports, women's golf, men's lacrosse, men's basketball, of course, and on and on. We just see a lot of progress. Women's volleyball, another one this year. And the comment has been made in multiple times is that we don't see why that can't happen with football. And so I hear the fans on that, right? But they also, love what we have and everything like that. What I hear from our alumni is it's been interesting, after I wasn't quite sure, what to expect from that, but for the most part, overwhelming, it's been support, especially from our alumni from those eras where the football program was really, really good, saying, we want this to be right. No matter what, at the end of the day, we're going to be William Penn football fans and William Penn University fans. And just with the investment, you look at what's going on at Statesmen Community Stadium and the facility and just all the facilities we have on campus. I mean, there's no reason why we can't be successful. From the student athlete's point of view, obviously I feel for them. Anytime you go through something like this, when you go through a coaching change, when I was a student athlete, I played 5 years and had 3 different coaches, and that's hard, right? So we have a certain, a definite level of empathy for them. But what we've painted with them is that, listen, here's our vision. Here's what we want. What do you want? We're going to get their feedback on some things as well, to make sure that, they understand that we're listening to them. And at the end of the day, there's a lot of things that we got to do to make our decision. And our decision is that, we want, with all the other momentum we have on a campus, we want our football program to have that same type of momentum. And so, this is tough. Stuff like this is hard, right? But at the end of the day, I think everyone knows that everyone's heart's in the right place, and we want William Penn football to be a premier program in the NAIA.
I'm going to kind of scoot away from football, and you mentioned the stadium and all of the things that are going on out there. So I'm understanding, will your baseball team have a new facility to play in this coming year?
I've been waiting for a question like that, Ken. Yeah, we're excited. Our baseball team is moving out to Lacey, and there's some adjustments being made on one of the fields out there, and there's a really good plan for the future, just with our partnership with MCRF and Lacey, about as that that area continues to evolve, that our baseball field, or our baseball team, is going to have one of the nicest fields in the conference now. And we've been playing at Penn Field here, that's just very old, and it's honestly one of the worst facilities in the conference. And just felt, since I took this job 6 years ago, one of the things that I really wanted to just see a change was, we have so many great facilities for our student athletes, but we just constantly fell short on our baseball field. So it's exciting. We're working with MCRF and Musco and Iowa Sports Turf out there, just on some really cool enhancements that we can't necessarily release yet, but it's going to be we're hoping that we're going to be in March. I think it all depends on how cold it gets and such, but if you drive out there, you can see the fences are being moved back, and some new light poles are going in and such, and we're working on a new press box and such. So it's going to be exciting for that program. Coach Laird, our baseball coach, has been here 40 years. We can't take people like that for granted. That guy deserves to be able to lead his student athletes on a premier collegiate field like we have for all of our other programs. So yeah, that's hopefully spring we'll be there. We're ready.
All right. So does that mean that William Penn is also going to be playing a larger role with the General Lacey complex out there in the future?
Yeah. So William Penn, we've always played a pretty big role out there. I sit on the MCRF board, and, the executive director of, MCRF, Sherry Vavra had retired essentially. She let us know, 3 or 4 months ago, and I think her last day was November 6th. So, as a board, we're taking a step back and figuring out how do we, take MCRF and make it to that next level, because it's just an unbelievable recreation complex. And, Musco has a hand in that, MCRF, Iowa Sports Turf, and William Penn's always played a large role in that. There's several subcommittees and such that have area representatives from the county and the city and the schools and such. So we've always played a large role in that. Maybe we're going to be a little bit more hands-on on it going forward in certain areas. But that's just a massive operation out there. But, the stadium, Statesmen Community Stadium in Dross Field, we've operated and managed that stadium for several years now. And the high school, we partner with them. They pay a very small fee to rent it, and at times, and we just like we did when we were at Old Community Stadium, and it's a great partnership. So yeah, we'll have a little bit more involvement out there, but it's not as different as maybe in years past, because we've always had a lot of involvement out there.
Okay, yeah, I'd been understanding that William Penn was going to be potentially running that whole facility out there. So are those rumors true or not?
So again, my role on the MCRF board is on the executive board. I have a position on that board. And so as John Pothoven and others have, the president of those boards, they really work, of the MCRF executive board, they've really worked hand in hand with the executive director and such before. So nothing really changes as far as that organization and such. I'm going to be more of the point person for the MCRF staff out there now, just as, as we evolve as an executive board and such. But as far as making any major decisions and everything, I mean, that's a foundation. And so the foundation still runs day to day, everything that's going on. William Penn will have a little bit more involvement, absolutely. But, we're looking, it's not necessarily more involvement in the day to day, that's not the case, but we're looking at our curriculum and such with our sports management degree and everything that we have, and how can we help MCRF go into the future to maybe attract more using our graduate assistant programs and just our expertise in the world of sport management to maybe attract more tournaments, generate more revenue, do things like that, evolve it from a marketing and branding standpoint. As you can see, a lot of stuff that's done at the stadium, very heavy on branding things the right way and such. And so we're going to be using our subject matter expertise a lot more intentionally with the executive board. And so there is more involvement. Yeah. But taking over the whole facility, Iowa Sports Turf runs all the grounds out there. MCRF has an employee in Mackenzie Burke, and she runs the day-to-day operations out there. And so the day-to-day doesn't really change. It's like, we're really taking a step back and saying, what does the future look like? And how can William Penn be of help? And so that's the conversations that are going on right now.
Okay. Thanks for the update on that.
Yep.
Nick, kind of circling back to the point they were talking about earlier, just with the momentum that the activities program, the athletics program has just as a whole. You mentioned some of these, women's volleyball had a good run, women's golf, men's soccer. What are the activities that stand out to you as far as growth, success, and just the level of interest that they have generated relative to other recent times that they've had this year?
Yeah, I mean, I'll start with men's soccer. I mean, 4 straight national tournament appearances is really impressive. We have incredible crowds at our soccer games. They bring a lot of energy. Sometimes we've had really close to 400 fans at a soccer game, and that exceeds a lot of Division I. So, they just help really, Coach Brown and Coach Highcock before just really turn that program around. the Heart of America is the hardest soccer conference in the country. Many of the last national champions, several national champions have come from the Heart. So, you know, they've done a really nice job. Our women's soccer program is in the middle of a rebuild, and Coach Cummins is doing it the right way. You know, the rebuilding takes a little bit of time. And I use women's volleyball as an example. 5 years ago, we had just completed a season where, I think it's probably 6 years ago now, we just completed a season where we had just won our fifth conference game in 5 years. So we're averaging 1 win a year. You know, Coach Cleaver, who's now our associate AD, you know, she rebuilt that program over a 4-year period. And then Coach Eldridge this year, first year, as we had transitioned to Coach Cleaver, who's now she's recently married, so her last name's Rabideau. Alicia's associate AD, and Coach Eldridge did a phenomenal job, you know, taking that foundation that was built and taking it to the next level. So you can kind of see with football, it's, again, we have a foundation, we got to take the next level. With volleyball, foundation, take the next level. And they've done a really nice job. Our cross country programs through Coach Drake have done a nice job of turning things around. He's in his first year. The men had the highest finish, I think, since 2013 in conference. You know, women's golf has the highest ranking in the last 3 years at number 22 in the country. Men's golf had 2 wins, you know, and they've been kind of struggling the last few years, but they're really back on the right path. And you know, Shotgun Sports participated this fall, and you know, it's regional and state champions coming off a national championship. You know, our women's bowling program is number 3 in the country, or number 2 in the country right now. And then you got men's volleyball, who's going to compete for a national championship, I believe. You got men's lacrosse, who I really feel are going to compete, probably going to be one of the front runners for a conference championship, and you know, very likely could be a player in the national scene. And then, of course, you got men's basketball, who just continues to do their thing. And so, you know, I could go to a number of different programs. I know I just hit on a few, but you know, everything I'm talking about here is there's optimism, there's progress. And if they're not at the upper echelon of our conference or at the national conversation, they're trending that way. And that's exciting. You know, we have a ton of, you know, energy and momentum on the campus right now. And, you know, people want to be good. You know, there's a coach that's been here a really long time, and I won't share who this was, because you know, these are some private conversations in a staff meeting when we're talking about goals. But this coach said, you know, I've been around William Penn a long time, and, you know, a long time ago, it always felt like we're just trying to be good enough. And now we're trying to be great. And I'll be honest, as a student athlete, at times I felt like we're just trying to be good enough. And sometimes as a coach, I felt like we're just trying to be good enough. And the world's different now. William Penn's in a different place now. And our mentality is different. So, you know, we want to be great. And we want to be great at all the little things. And that's a cultural shift, we believe.
So what kind of steps have you taken so far to help create that mentality? And what do you see will be the next steps to help finish rebuilding or building into that greatness?
Yeah, I mean, you know, so much of what you talk about when you're building a culture like that, it's not just one big thing that you do. It's just many, many little things. And so, you know, over the last 6 years, there's been a lot of little things that you know, that we've talked about. And it's just, you know, giving people a seat at the table and understanding what they're interested in. It's also setting a new expectation and such. But, you know, part of it, it's the way you brand and market yourself too. I think the way that we branded and marketed who we are maybe 10 years ago is a lot different than we are today. And in today's day and age of social media and everything, and just, you know, the instant gratification on such, I mean, Wade's team is a huge part of that, just the way we do, you know, our Oscos's college team marketing and such. I mean, we want to be a part of the community, and so it's just changing hearts and minds. And sometimes you don't, you know, people want to say, hey, there's just 1 or 2 things that we did, and this what's changed everything. And that really isn't a culture change. You know, that's a blip in the radar. That's just saying, hey, we did something and checked a box. A lot of what we've done are just very subtle little things and conversations and expectations and talking through things and understanding where people want to be. And then, you know, coming up with, okay, what can we rally behind? And what we want to rally behind is we want to be at the athletic department of the future. And so we're going to continue to figure out what that looks like and meet that mantra. But, you know, that's important to us. But at the end of the day, you know, we want to be good at all the little things. And so, you know, we, you give thousands of hours a year in community service. Our student athletes, we used to just do every team just did one project. Now they're doing multiple, and it's high five Fridays at the elementary school. Just stuff like that makes a difference, and our student athletes are more connected to the community and everything. And and our attendance has increased too. We've noticed when we start tracking tickets and such that we were getting 22% more people at the games, at our games, from a 52577 zip code. So we want to more intentionally ingrain ourselves in the community. And then from just the competitive standpoint, success brings success. It breeds success. We want people around that are hungry and are not willing to settle for mediocrity. And I think at the end of the day, that's really where we're at, is that, if anything is just mediocre, it's not working, and we get antsy, and we want to make sure that that's not where we ever fall into. So it's just an attitude and a mindset.
Well, I think I'm out of questions.
I think that goes for me too.
Good. Well, thanks, guys. We'll let you know, obviously, when we're when we're ready to make a hire for football, and Wade will certainly reach out to you and make sure that we give you guys access to be able to talk to that next coach.
Definitely. Nick, anything else you want to add there at the end here?
I think we really summed it all up. We're very eager and excited about what the future looks like, but we're also never going to get comfortable as long as I'm here. We're never going to get comfortable in where we're at. And so there's going to be this constant starvation for, how do we continue to be a leader? And that's exciting. So, our coaches are really buying into that right now, and our student athletes are too, which makes it a really great place to be right now. It's really a great day to be a Statesman.
Awesome. All right. Well, thanks, Nick. Thanks, Sam. Thanks, Ken. Happy Thanksgiving for all of you guys. Happy Thanksgiving, Statesman Nation. Eat a lot of turkey. Don't go into a turkey coma or anything, but eat a lot of turkey, have a lot of stuffing. And we will, I guess, final plug here. We have exactly 4 hours until the women's basketball game against Stevens in Penn Gymnasium today. So if you have nothing going on this afternoon, definitely check out the ladies play. They haven't played in about 13 days, I think. So they're ready to go. They're knocking some rust off, and hopefully put on a really good show. So good way to start Thanksgiving weekend. So hopefully we can see you there. All right. Thanks again, everybody, and go Statesmen.